Eric Mangini is joining us live, Fox Sports analyst. You know, Eric just sits there. He learns so much about the sport listening. It's quite a...
I am surprised on your Baltimore pick. You know that Lamar's thrown 4 total touchdowns this year, right?
He's actually thrown 6. 2 have been dropped.
And yeah, there have been some bad drops, but there's been some off counter throws or not very good throws too. I'm not as high on that pick as the other ones. I love the Bears pick.
Okay, I want to go to Russ. Listen, I said this yesterday. Well, in the NFL, when you lose, it's finger pointing. It's Peyton. It's this. It's this. And the truth is, you can fix a defense pretty quickly. You hit a couple picks, you change the DC, you get young and cheap and fast Kansas City on defense. You got a great corner, lock him up, get a pass rush. If you don't have the right quarterback, and last night they trailed 10-0, and I'm like, the game's over. Would I feel that with Jalen Hurts? Would I feel that with Herbert, Allen? If you're down 10-0, and my take is, at 13-0, it's like game's over. I think it's a Russ issue. I do, Eric. Your thoughts?
I actually thought that Russ had made some progress in the early part of the season leading up to last night. And the issues in Denver have been defensive issues. And I agree, you can improve a defense pretty significantly in an offseason. But this defense was really good last offseason. That they took a really good defense and turned it into something else, which makes it more challenging. The other thing with Russ is there's nothing you can do, Colin. His contract is so terrible, and you got to make it work. You got to make it work probably through next year. Otherwise, you're going to be so handicapped from a salary cap perspective.
Let me argue this, though. And that's what people have said through the years when you're trapped, and then you find Russell Wilson in the 3rd round or Dak in the 4th. Is that if you do get a quarterback on that rookie deal, it mitigates at least some of the issues. Now, it does put pressure on the scouting department to hit on picks. But the truth is, Seattle's hit on so many picks that Geno Smith looks like a Pro Bowler. I don't think Geno is. I think they've hit on like 7, 8 picks the last 2 years. So if they went, right now they have the number 2 pick. If they draft Drake May, and he is as good as we think, doesn't that mitigate some of Russ's stuff? You move off, you swallow salary cap for 2 or 3 years, you just have to hit on some picks.
Yeah, you can move off it, and you definitely have to hit on some picks at that point because you have no option to go improve the team from a free agency perspective. And when you do see guys like Geno or you see guys like Baker, you see other guys who have resurrected their career to some degree, you sit back and wonder and say, why can't Russ be better than he is? And from a movement standpoint, he's not what he was, but he still is with Sean Payton, who a lot of people consider to be arguably one of the best offensive minds in the game. So we should be seeing a better offensive product, even though Russ Wilson isn't what we all remember him to be. It's got to get better, and both sides share that blame.
So you're in Cleveland. Deshaun Watson's story gets weirder by the week. Last week, he was medically cleared to play and didn't. Now we just find this morning he can't play this week. Good luck against the Niners. You're there. You have good contacts. This thing feels, is it all football? Is it upstairs? What is going on?
It feels terrible. He's coming off the best game that he had with Tennessee, and I thought he had turned the corner. And I know I shared with you since the summer that in my mind, him versus Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson, he had the best chance to get back to where he was, and it looked like that's what was happening. Then he gets this injury, and you hear the comments coming from the coaching staff where he's medically cleared to play, and it's a pain issue and those things. When you share those comments publicly, then everybody knows that now it's the player's decision, and you don't ever want to question someone's health because you're not in their body. But when they make statements like that and make it very clear that he is able to play, pain permitting, it's concerning. And in Cleveland, the fallout is also worse because Baker Mayfield's playing so well and Josh Dobbs is playing well. And now you're stuck with a guy that you paid, tremendous amount of money, and he's not even on the field.
So Dallas' situation, the last 20 teams that have faced the Niners are 1-19 the following week. You can go back to your career. There are teams where you feel like when you lose twice. San Francisco, and you've been in that building, it's the best roster I have seen since the Seahawks when they had KJ Wright, Chancellor, Russ, Max Unger. Max Unger was the 9th best player. He was a Pro Bowl center. I think Dallas has 13 players this week on the injury report. You'll go back to your career. Maybe it was playing those Ravens teams. What is it like to face a physically daunting team and what you have to recover from the following week?
It's hard, and it's hard to when you got beat the way that they did.
Yeah.
With the expectations they had going into the game. Now, what you'd like to see, and I think Dan Quinn will do a really good job of this, is that does also become a rallying cry, and we've seen on Micah Parsons' podcast and different Dallas Cowboys players talking about how great their defense is and how this game doesn't define them. Well, let's see how they respond, and I do think Dan will do a good job of that, and we'll see a much different defensive performance by the Cowboys this week than we saw last week. And then it's on Dak. I mean, he's made $212 million in the first 3 years of this contract. Like at some point, he's got to hold up his end of the bargain. And he threw the 3 picks last week, which was his worst since 2019. Let's see whether or not he can recover too, and he can perform anywhere near the level that he should be performing at, coming off a loss that was as disappointing organizationally as that one was.
It's interesting. The Chiefs are a little like the Patriots with Brady. They've got the Mahomes and Brady. They got the money, the endorsements, the ring, the legacy. Hall of Fame, it's all set. Now, once you're paid, we ask you, Tom and Patrick, to win with less. So Tom's last Super Bowl win, his second-best receiver was arguably James White on swing passes. It was an older Edelman and older Gronk. And that's the reality. You get the bag, but now Belichick says, okay, we'll keep the special teams and defense clean. You got to do more with less. And I watched Kansas City last night, and there's a lot of less. I don't see anybody. Is this a Super Bowl team to you?
Yeah, it is. And the one thing that Patrick proved is that he can be a force multiplier, and he can take guys. You lose Tyreek Hill and find other ways to win. The good news for them is they do have the defense that they have, and that's different than what he's experienced over the course of the bulk of his career. Don't love how much they have to rely on Travis Kelce.
Yeah,
that's he can't be Superman every game. And at some point, one or two of these other young receivers, and they all have talent, have just got to. We just got to see some more consistency out of them. I'd like to also see some improvement on the short yardage running. That's been an Achilles heel for them for it seems like forever. So yeah, I do think this is a Super Bowl team, primarily because they are as good as they are defensively, and at any point, Patrick Mahomes can be Superman. And you're never going to be out of a game, just like we were never out of a game with Tom Brady.
So the Niners don't have to worry about this for a couple years. But as you know, the quarterback position is different. If a guy's a great corner, you know it. He's on an island. Yeah. If a guy's a great left tackle, you know it. He's on an island. Quarterback can have a great left tackle and great weapons. He's playing great. He's not great. He relies on many other. A great coordinator. Jalen Hurts without Steichen, a little bumpy this season. So how do you, as a former NFL coach, I said I think Brock Purdy's good, but I'm not sure he's very good. I just think he's good. We thought Dak was really good. People did early. Well, they had Zeke, the O-line. They had Amari Cooper. You watch Brock Purdy. How good is he?
Well, he's really good relative to where he was taken, and that's the sort of the grading scale here early on, and this is a totally different evaluation because just like we talked about with Patrick Mahomes being a force multiplier for everybody around him, his whole team, Brock Purdy's whole team, is a force multiplier for him.
Yes.
Like that team is just, it doesn't matter who you throw to. It doesn't matter who you give the ball to. They're all really good. And then defensively, you're not going to have to score that many points to win games. And it's such a unique situation to come into for a young guy. But I give him a ton of credit, Colin, for not making mistakes. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't take a ton of chances. He takes enough chances, moves around a little bit to generate some plays, but he's not going to lose games for San Francisco. That's why it makes it such a hard evaluation. You credit him for the good decision making, but it's hard because there's no data of him trailing. There's no data of him having to bring the team back. There's no data of him in any sort of adversity, except for the Raiders game last year where it was tied up and he had to drive the team down the field. And the second pass play on that drive was almost picked off. So I don't know. I don't know how he's going to be when he has to actually carry a drive because we haven't seen it.
You know, it's interesting. I want to pivot to Justin Fields, who the last 2 weeks has hit. And we know he's not getting a lot of help outside of DJ Moore. And so I said this earlier, is that I give Justin a little bit of a pass because I'm not sure anything around him is excellent. Whereas Brock Purdy or Jordan Love, I'm going to be more punitive on because I know Matt LaFleur is capable. And I know the system's good. And I know, I know Green Bay's well run. Chicago, I have lots of questions. So what do you make of Justin Fields? It seems really encouraging the last 2 weeks, right? Like, that's not crazy to say. Like, it clicked.
It's encouraging, but I had high expectations for the Bears going into the season. And you and I talked about this too, with the volume of guys that they brought in offensively and drafting a tackle in the first round and DJ Moore and Deontay Foreman and Robert Tonyan. They brought in some guys to support Justin Fields, and it just didn't seem like there was a lot of progress. Now, hearing Justin talk about not playing to his strengths and not feeling comfortable, it seems like there's been some discussions or some sort of breakthrough between him and the offensive coordinator to the point where he is more comfortable. And that's a big part of it is you can go into the season with who you want to be, but then you got to figure out who you need to be to win.
Yeah.
And the encouraging part for the Bears is they look like they're figuring out a little bit of where Justin Fields needs to be to win.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.